Okay, folks, welcome back to One Eye News, America's Eye, laser focus on the truth. I'm Johnny D, keeping my eye on the truth for America. Alright, folks, again, we're going to have to make some corrections. As we mentioned, we will try to address any errors as soon as possible. Again, I want to reiterate that I will make errors while speaking. And I will point out again that I convey my perspectives and articulate my positions in plain English and not the usual pretentious speak like the so-called news people on the corrupt mainstream media channels that play dress up for the camera. And, they may look the part and sound the part, but they're just spewing out articulations that hide the truth. And even when they don't hide the truth, they speak to the audience like they are stupid and that they are puppet masters. And what I've noticed is that they sit there and they try to act all very distinguished, and then they try to project a deep concern for this or that or whatever it is they're pushing at the time to sell to America. And right now, it is that President Trump is a racist, Nazi-loving member of the KKK. Okay? So, anyway, just a minor rant to convey that we here at One Eye News are not concerned with being TV stars, and we're not concerned. We're not concerned with that. What we are concerned with is the truth and what is good for America. So let's roll. Let's get this on, and let's try to get through this information. Again, we have to continue to keep adding a little bit here. I had to take a little break after recording the last couple of hours. It started bleeding a little bit, so I had to take a little break, folks. Anyhow, so we're back now. And so let's, first, when addressing the opioid crisis, let me address this error that I made. I cited 91 per day are dying, and I believe that is incorrect, and it is 142 per day. So apologies for that. And even if it were 91 a day that are dying from the opioid epidemic, that is still a 9/11 every month or so. Anyway, so okay, now we'll get back on track and backtrack a little bit, as I had intended to follow up on an earlier comment that I made referring to whites as cracker. I again mentioned this term on purpose and for a reason, and that was to point out that this term is widely used by black folks. And when used, it seems to have received a pass from everyone. Why? This is, again, part of the problems that we have right now with the racial division. But apparently, this term is not racist. Why is this term not considered to be racist? Question mark. Again, I have heard all the arguments from the black communities why they can use this offensive term against whites. And they also claim that blacks can and are also the only ones that are allowed to use the most offensive term in America, and that is the N-word. Okay, so again, I may be offering a different perspective, and when anyone offers a different perspective, they are usually labeled. So again, let's be clear. We're going to broach, One Eye News is going to broach these subjects that seem to be off limits to anyone, unless they want to be labeled a racist. And we really don't want that, but we're going to broach them anyway. So here's my perspective, and it comes from my personal experiences. And I will just cite a few from the past and recent present as well. So, and some celebrities discussing the issue are documented on camera. When I saw Ice Cube on Bill Maher, the week after Bill Maher used the N-word on his show. And I would point out that if anyone on the right did what Bill did, they would have been off the air that day. Okay? So that's a fact. So I will also note that if you go back and watch the episode that aired the week previous to the one when Bill used the N-word, then you will see two black guests just tearing Bill up. And they made him look foolish and, well, stupid, actually, because both of these guests were much smarter than Bill, okay? The point is, he was embarrassed on his own show by two black guests, and then the very next week, he came out and used the N-word. Come on now, folks. Maybe that was his subconscious, and Maher showed who he really is. I mean, that's what they're saying about President Trump, because he did not denounce all hate, or, because he said he denounces all hate and from all sides, but he did not specifically say KKK or Nazis. How terrible. And I have seen him denounce these groups by name at least a dozen times when they tried this garbage during the campaign. And I never heard him praise the KKK or use the N-word like Bill Maher did. And nobody said nothing to Bill. Well, just saying, you know, nobody really said much, except the following week, Ice Cube came on the show with a scowl on his face, and he tried to act all mad at Bill, and maybe he was, but he basically vouched for Maher, so Maher could get a pass from the black Americans and the rest of the liberals in Hollywood like, you know, his bosses. And he did not get fired, and no one got fired, which, by the way, was the right thing to do for Ice Cube and the black community. Because even though I don't agree with Maher and he is a clown, I don't think he or anyone should be getting fired for a mistake. But everyone would scream racist and on and on and on if somebody will, let's say, like Sean Hannity or anyone else they don't agree with made a similar mistake. They would be crucified and hung in the public square. And again, that's where people like us, you and me, the real Americans, we differ. This is where, you know, we differ from people like Maher that live in bubbles. You know, when we disagree with them, we don't try to ruin them and get them fired and ruin their lives. But if you disagree, you know, with, if they disagree with you and they don't agree with anything you're saying, then you're a racist, and they attack and they seek and destroy. And again, I don't hate Maher or anyone for that matter. I just hate what he and others represent. And in some cases, I hate the actions that some people participate in, but I don't hate the actual people themselves. Unlike Maher and people like him, they do hate. As I mentioned before, hate is a wasted energy, a waste of time, and it is toxic and unhealthy for the human body. Anyway, Ice Cube went on to say that they own that word now, meaning black people. And no other people have the right to use this word, and only black people have the right. Okay? So I disagree with Ice Cube's perception and reasoning and compliance to keep the word in use at all. I think if it really is that offensive to him and them and any black folks, then they should also refrain from using the word. And frankly, from abusing the word. Okay? If you go into a middle school football field, you know, go onto the field and the N-word is all you hear. And so I would just like to point that out and point out that promoting a word for one part of the population while forbidding it for the rest of society is really just kind of impossible. So don't get mad when it gets used. You know, and when people use that word, you can't get mad if you continue to use it. And you never do it the word has now become the norm and overused. And in the mainstream. And in many neighborhoods in America, it is the mainstream. And it is in all the black artists' music. And I also see both black and white kids singing these songs and singing the N-word too. So let's just get rid of it altogether. I think that would be the solution. Instead of one group using it and the other group not. Let's just remove the word. So let's just get rid of it altogether or get over it altogether. Because it is blacks calling each other the N-word every single day. So, just saying, really what has happened is the overuse has removed the original negative connotations in history. And some people are trying to erase history right now. So we should reflect and teach the true history and use these statues and whatnot to remind people, that this is the reality, and even if it is repugnant, that is the history. And so it is now just another word to many youth that are not racist at all, but just indoctrinated to this language while growing up. And they use the word like any other word, I guess. It just does not mean what it used to in many circles, I guess. So anyhow, but if you are white or Asian or whatever, and you happen to use this word in, well, let's say the wrong place, like the wrong neighborhood, you may be killed. So that is a fact, folks. And or beaten to a bloody pulp. Yet any black citizens can walk right up to a white citizen and call them a cracker or whatever they want without fear of persecution or fear of being called a racist or anything. Why? That is a double standard that should not be, folks. And the fact is that this is also racism, and it should be called what it is and denounced. And therefore, when a black citizen sees this happen to a white citizen, then they should be appalled and they should call it out. Just like the way any of us white citizens would be to see the same scenario happen to a black citizen, and then we would call them out. And I have done that myself. And I know, this is, that has already happened in America, and that's what the Civil Rights Movement was all about, folks. So let's not go backwards and get back at one people for their relatives' history, the sins of the father and all that. But what I mentioned earlier was that the coin has flipped. And whites and blacks who disagree, both whites and blacks who disagree, are being targeted by whites and blacks and browns and others if they do not conform to the new set of social rules of society, rules that are unwritten and rules that are currently being set by these liberal colleges and these demented politicians and the fake news establishments that are brainwashing all the social media millennials who are now setting social rules on Twitter and Facebook. Come on, this is out of control. This is the Twilight Zone. And these millennials have become the left's army of mindless followers who are somehow taking over with their numbers that are in the masses. And their numbers of uninformed, uneducated college students and college graduates. Okay, yes, uneducated college students and college graduates. They're attending college, but they're not getting educated, folks. And young adults that are going to be in charge soon. And that is the most terrifying prospect in the world to me, is the millennials that will be running the world. And that is the most terrifying prospect. And even more so than any nuclear threat. Anyways, to me it is. And the real story that Americans should be recognizing in the year 2017, again, the real story is not that there are some small minority of white supremacist hate groups still in existence and living out in the hills, making moonshine and picking their tooth. But, the real story is that by the year 2017, America has already had a black president, black heads of state, and women heads of state, and both in most high-ranking positions in the government and or business and or more. And other things like, hey, Floyd Mayweather Jr., he is the highest paid athlete in American history, okay? And he makes a lot of money. So anyhow, and also that women and gays and transgender and all races and creeds and colors and lifestyles are accepted and respected in America, except by the Nazis and KKK, of course, and with the exception of Nazis of KKK and KKK, who are not accepted. But apparently all the hate groups on the left, like Black Lives Matter and the Antifa, are accepted. So, again, just saying. Anyways, and even, they're even tolerated by many who are appalled by the demands of a society that has made it clear to them that if they do not compromise their own moral compass to adhere to all tolerance for all and on demand for any, then they will be labeled a racist, a bigot, and on and on and on. Even as the tolerance for all seems to exclude many. Oops. Sorry, this was supposed to be a positive rant. But, again, it's reality, folks. They can exclude you, but you can't exclude them. But seriously, how can we take people that serious when they want to teach 5-year-olds about transgender? This is out of control, folks. Come on. Let's not teach 5-year-olds about transgender. That's going a little too far. Again, but those other stories, they're the more aspirational stories that should be the topic of discussion in 2017. Not that there are all this hate around, but it is around because it is and has been promoted by the former president of the United States and for the past 8 years. And that's why it is so prevalent, folks. So the following is strong and void of a moral compass. But seriously, the story in 2017 should be that black and white and brown and so on work together and live together and love together in many parts of the country, even though there still may be some of all races who dwell in the past. The ones who don't dwell in the past are the Americans that have moved on and that are not wasting their time and their lives engaging in these hateful protests and or actions that suck the life and the happiness from them. These are black and white and brown and all Americans that can and have been living, in, somewhat of a peaceful harmony together, in acceptance, with respect for one another, and with love for one another, and for a long time now. And that's all being torn apart now. And now we are all forced to confront these hateful propaganda campaigns being pushed on us by a former President Obama and the propaganda media, and the rest of these corrupt politicians and liberal professors and school teachers that have been indoctrinated and trained to indoctrinate the next generations of mindless, uninformed, uneducated college graduates, okay? So this is a big part of the problem here in America that nobody ever wants to confront or even broach. But this is one of the many factors that is currently fueling the anti-American citizens movement. And that's why One Eye News is taking the extra time and going the extra mile to produce this many segments that lay out all of these factors, because it has taken years to observe, compile, navigate, decipher, and then to organize in a way that is easy to see and to show the story of what we are trying to tell here at One Eye News. And again, thank you again for tuning into One Eye News, America's Eye, laser focus on the truth for America. And I'm Johnny D, and we want to thank you again. One Eye News, thanks you very much. And now we want to also rehash a little bit from the last hour. We really need to go back and rehash a little bit about Terry McAuliffe and the comments that spotlighted his complicit disregard for the laws and the citizens of his state and for America. I may exude much passion when it comes to the vampires like McAuliffe that suck the American people dry with their blind ambition and their willingness to compromise American citizens' lives because they are all void of morals, ethics, values, and character. Okay, so again, these people are sucking the life out of America, and I get very passionate when I speak about these subjects. And I spoke about earlier, sometimes my passion may be misconstrued. So let's not make that mistake. Because these people are void of all morals, ethics, values, and character. And all just to climb a social and political ladder that these people like McAuliffe and Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and the majority of politicians in power today, like John McCain, who are all operating for themselves and not for their constituents, as proven by John McCain and the rest that I just mentioned. Now, I have to briefly mention Spain before we move on, as it was again that genius Angela Merkel and the EU's policies that is responsible for the majority of Europe's terror problems. And I think we can all agree on that. Anyone who wouldn't agree with that, I'm not sure that you understand, you must not be from this planet. Okay. Other countries in Europe like Czechoslovakia and several others told Merkel to take a hike with her demands that they also accept refugees. And these countries refused to do so, and they have zero problems with terrorism right now. And I would correlate that directly to them telling Merkel to take a hike. Okay, so do the math. Just like in Phoenix, Arizona, that refused and repealed their sanctuary city policies, and immediately crime dropped 25%. All crime. If Hillary Clinton would have been elected, then we would have the same policies as Merkel. Okay? And I think that's pretty apparent. And now my next statement, I think, may cause a little outrage, but it's the truth, folks. So I'm going to say it, and it is time to get these old geriatric menopausal women out of power. Okay? And if we're going to have ladies in there, let's get some sane ladies in there, okay? Folks, now listen. I know how that sounds, but again, I'm just going to be honest. When somebody's got a booger hanging out of their nose, I'm going to tell them about it. Again. So seriously, though, these women are trying to govern by emotion. And that does not work. And there is no place for it in government when it comes to protecting citizens against terrorists and terrorism. There's no kumbaya here. There's no, hey, if we give them a job, they might not blow us up. That doesn't work, folks. They are not us, and they do not think like us. They have one objective, and that is to kill us. Okay, folks? Okay, now we will continue with our original programming and material. Okay. So we'll have to pick up where we kind of left off last, and I'm going to begin by detailing one of Obama's operatives who really started destroying America before he joined the Obama team, but I think they were all in cahoots before that anyhow. So, fact, Eric Holder was a hired gun by Obama that subverted all the laws and rewrote all the rules to allow the white-collar criminals to receive a free pass whenever they are caught lying and cheating and stealing from their companies and or from the citizens of America. And this is just a fact, folks. This is documented evidence that we can prove this. You can go right on and look at it for yourselves. And we will revisit this in more detail in later episodes because there's a whole lot to it. But we need to mention this now, as this is one of the ways Obama used the laws and lawyers to fleece America and the American people. Okay, so I guess we need to start before Obama hired Holder. Holder was already making these moves and rewriting the rules to ensure that any CEO, CFO, and alike would never ever face any criminal charges if caught for any crimes. And they used a previous case to cite this and push this all through. Rather, the company would be fined and no one would ever even lose a job and nobody ever pays out of pocket. It's the company that pays. So there are really zero consequences for white-collar criminals at this point in time in history. So hey, maybe if anyone wants to rob the people, just become a corrupt CEO or whatever, and it's always payday. So anyways, those of us with morals and ethics could never do that. So this speaks directly to why the stock market did okay under Obama. And this is important to point out. And Obama was only interested in helping the 1%. And that is the exact people who he ran on saying that he was going to fight against and he was going to help the people, when in fact he jumped into bed with 1% and he threw the people under the bus. And so he did not help the black communities or any other American communities except the very one that he pointed his finger at and scowled, and that he blames everything on, and that is the 1%. Yet the 1% is the only community that made money during the Obama years. Why, folks? Why? Okay? And this is reflected in the stagnant economy under Obama. But again, the critics will say he had 80 consecutive months of growth. Growth for who? Again, most people are not in the stock market. And most regular Americans are just hoping to get to the grocery market and put some milk in the fridge and some grub on the table. And that's what the regular folks worried about under Obama's economy. Common folks, that's what they had to worry about. So come on, folks. Obama is part of the 1% now, and that is hypocrisy in action. So maybe hanging out with Richard Branson, a billionaire white guy, hey, what's up? I guess Obama's not racist after all. Or maybe he's just slumming it with Branson. Okay, one other point about Eric Holder. The fact is, there is a large contingent of the most powerful attorneys in America that are all interconnected with Eric Holder. And they all work together in concert to subvert and manipulate laws to achieve their objectives, while at the same time by hindering and destroying any individuals and or organizations that oppose any of their agendas. The group Eric Holder currently works for are one of these main slime ball organizations that are still doing the betting, okay, for America's 1% and the CEOs and the CFOs and on and on and on. And they will never stop unless, what's that old joke about lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? Hey, you fill in the blank. I don't want to get sued. Anyhow, now, I am not citing, I'm not inciting violence against lawyers. So let's make that clear. But these snakes need to be legally stopped somehow and disbarred. All these high-powered attorneys, because these are the most exclusive, high-dollar slime ball attorneys in the country that are currently ruining our country. Okay? You know, they're ruining it by changing the rules and using all the laws to destroy our nation. Okay, let's get back on track to the creeps in question. Okay, again, I will denote that Mueller previewed and okayed the Jim Comey testimony previous to the questioning of Jim Comey that we all witnessed, which is collusion. So let's just look at that for a minute, folks. If the special prosecutor, who by the rules of the special prosecutor is to have no relationship with any witness, and Comey is his, you know, son-in-law or whatever you want to call him, he's his boy, then I think that's breaking the rules, as we pointed out already. And for Mueller to preview the testimony and to okay it, which was the language they used, they okayed the testimony. He okayed the testimony. I mean, that is just them putting right in our face that, hey, the rules don't apply to us, okay? So the old saying goes, knowledge is power, and these people have all the knowledge that procures the information from our leaders, thus giving them all the power to break laws and obstruct justice with no fear of consequences and or prosecution, as they are the swamp creatures and the ones prosecuting and or breaking the rules to serve their agendas, as they hold all the cards to blackmail and or manipulate any others that may oppose them. Okay, the deck is stacked, and it always has been stacked, folks. The deck is stacked beginning with that Nimrod Rosenstein, who should recuse himself. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say Nimrod Rosenstein? I meant Rod Rosenstein, as, you know, he should recuse himself, as there is a serious conflict of interest there as well. And he is an agent of Obama. Again, the main players that are opposing and actively attempting to overthrow the President of the United States of America start with the top. And that is with the Obamas, the Clintons, Mueller, Comey, John Brennan, Loretta Lynch, Susan Rice, Ben Rhodes, Samantha Power, and now apparently, I'm not sure what's going on with H.R. McMaster, but let's keep an eye on him. I don't know, he may be joining the gang, or maybe he's been a player all along. Not to mention the hired guns, meaning the 16 attorneys hired by Mueller, including Clinton Foundation attorney and Clinton donors and supporters as well. And then there's the media and people like the propagandist Jim Acosta and Jake Tapper, who and CNN and MSNBC and NBC and CBS and ABC and all the other corrupt media personalities that I mentioned earlier that sit on their moral high horse and try to point their finger at everyone else. The fix is in, my friends, and they are gunning for our president and for our country, and thus they are gunning for you and me. Fact, Obama cut $1 billion from our missile defense program. Why, folks? And he gave North Korea cash and then looked the other way. Again, while North Korea built their nuclear program. Why, folks? Why did he give North Korea cash? Why does he bow down? Why? Fact, Obama did the same thing with another one of the worst deals in history, the Iran deal. Okay? I mean, he's giving them all the money and the cash and prizes packages to build their weapons. So the fact is, Obama gave Iran $150 billion taxpayer dollars, and the fact is, Iran and North Korea are working together. So maybe Iran, instead of working with Russia with that $150 billion, they gave some of that to North Korea, to finish off their program, because now they got the weapons. So, again, the enemy of your enemy and all that. Let's not bury our heads, folks. Fact, Obama gave Russia our uranium, 20% of our uranium. Okay? And fact, Obama gave Iran pallets of your cash, $150 billion. And that's just what we know about. What about the stuff we don't know about, folks? And Obama and both Bill Clinton gave North Korea cash and prizes to complete their nuclear program, okay? Fact, the cash and prizes package started with Bill Clinton's cash and prizes packages for North Korea back in the 1990s. Fact, Obama said, win stumping for Clinton. We're going to switch gears a little bit here. We're going to move off that. Again, though, but the ability that the Obama administration has given all of our adversaries is to possess nuclear weapons. And then what did Susan Rice come out and spout it out just last week or whatever? Oh, well, we just have to get used to that. No. No, no, no. Why are you guys giving nuclear capabilities to all of our enemies? Why, folks? Why are they doing that? Okay, we're going to cover more of that later, but we need to move on. So let's move on a little bit to Obama and some of the things he said. And the fact, Obama said when stumping for Hillary Clinton that Trump is a racist. And he associates with racists now. And then he went on to say, if Trump is a racist now, then he would associate with racist if he becomes president. Which is very telling, Mr. Obama, as these were your own words, your very own words. And this seems to be a self-describing prophecy for you, as you yourself are guilty of hosting racist groups at the White House. Like Black Lives Matter. And I'm going to continue to be redundant on that, and I'm going to repeat it over and over again until somebody hears. Okay? And somebody makes a mistake about it and starts asking questions. Fact. Obama obstructed justice when he improperly interfered with the IRS investigation and Lois Lerner and all that. So again, he's targeting conservative groups, spying on you, spying on us. Fact. Obama is guilty of allowing Fast and Furious, in which weapons were provided to the cartels, and then an American did die. That is a fact, folks. The death of that American is on the hands of Obama. Fact. Obama and Clinton are responsible for leaving our men behind to die at Benghazi. Fact. The death of those men are in the hands of Obama and Clinton. Next, Obama and Clinton used Susan Rice. They tried to use Susan Rice to cover their tracks. And then she was caught lying, just like Clinton. And they did not care about our citizens that died at Benghazi. And that was clear. When an angry and defiant Hillary Clinton made those statements on camera when she said, "What does it matter? Now, they're already dead." Again, excuse me. That is very telling, because that's who these people are. They're the always leave the man behind kind, while President Trump is the never leave the man behind kind. Okay? Let's make that clear, folks. Fact. Obama celebrates terrorists that have attacked America. Case in point, Oscar Rivera Lopez, who was guilty of over 100 bombings in America. And that is a fact, folks. Obama celebrates Oscar Rivera Lopez. And he was guilty of over 100 bombings in America. And why is he free? Folks, why is he free? Well, because he's a hero to Obama, and Obama set him free to return to bombing America if and when he wishes. Okay? So the fact is, Obama loves this guy. And you can see it in his actions. Fact, New York City celebrated Oscar Rivera Lopez's release at the Puerto Rican Day Parade, where Mr. Lopez was the guest of honor. Fact, Obama is inspired by people like Mr. Lopez, who is an enemy of the state and an enemy to America and all of its citizens, except for Obama, apparently. Fact, Obama is inspired by people like Mr. Lopez, who is an enemy to America. Come on. Or did I just say that? Okay, sorry about that. Fact, Obama frees terrorists from Guantanamo Bay to return to the battlefield to kill Americans. It happened. And that is a fact, folks. We cannot dispute that. Nobody can. Fact. Now this is a really disturbing one, folks. And we're going to get into this more because we're going to do a lot of research. We're going to dig this up. We're going to find out more about this. But the fact is, Obama has been funding Al-Qaeda. Now I know how that sounds, folks. But this is a fact. And we're gonna expose that. We don't have all of the evidence right here in front of us right now at this time, but when we do, we're going to get all of the facts that detail this operation. Again, fact, Obama has been funding Al-Qaeda. Now just think about that, folks. Our former president and while a sitting president was funding a known terror group that attacked America on 9/11. And this is a fact, folks. And Obama has been funding this operation through a CIA operation again that finances our enemies. And they'll probably use this to say this is one of them private wars that we were just discussing. So they're probably using all that opium and heroin they're getting from Afghanistan, and then they're taking taxpayer dollars and using those dollars to fund Al-Qaeda. Taxpayer dollars. Again, this seems to me to be not just un-American, not just anti-American, but the most treasonous that you can possibly be. And I think that most free-thinking Americans would agree with me if they knew about this. Again, Obama, I'm going to say it again because it's just so unbelievable. Obama has been funding Al-Qaeda. Okay? So we're going to dig up that CIA operation and we're going to dig through it. Again, the CIA is destroying America. We need oversight committees using real Americans like you and me, real citizens like us, to keep an eye on these intelligence operators that use our laws against us to harm our own citizens in many, many, many ways. Not just the drug epidemics that I talked about, but fact, again, I'm going to say it again. Obama gave Iran 150 taxpayer dollars, which can now be used to attack Israel and America. Why, folks? Why? And again, Obama fact. The fact is Obama also funded the North Korean nuclear program. And Bill Clinton did as well when he was in office. And I know I'm being repetitive, but we have to be. And we are now seeing the effects of these former presidents' sympathy for a dictator by sending them taxpayer dollars under the guise of helping the people of North Korea. Why? Because they said they were going to help the people of North Korea with this money if they got it? Come on. When anyone who knows anything about North Korea understands that you don't give them money because they said they would do something good with it. Okay? hey, we're going to do some good stuff with your money. Kick us down some cash and we'll make you proud. Okay? Look, folks, that's like giving a drug addict some cash and expecting them to pay their child support instead of running down to the corner and scoring some dope. Okay, it's not going to happen. This is yet another indication of Mr. Obama's anti-American positions and policies designed to weaken and destroy America. Fact, Obama praises and supports another admitted anti-American citizen, radical Muslim terrorist who is waging war on America right now. And this is a fact, folks, and this is very concerning, and this should be most concerning. Fact, Obama, he pals around with guys like Louis Farrakhan, who is a racist. Come on. He met with Louis Farrakhan before he was elected president, and he accepted the support of the Nation of Islam. And nobody really knows that. But that is a fact. But this fact is even more concerning than the fact that Obama praises and supports Linda Sarsour, who is a terrorist, and whose family are terrorists, and whose family have been killing. And some of her family have now been caught and are now locked up for their terrorist actions. Okay? Linda Sarsour preaches jihad against America. And she does this in America with the support of America and the former president. Okay? She preaches jihad against America and against our current president and against the White House. And she is advocating for jihad here in America. Okay, folks? I mean, I cannot make this stuff up, again, because we're not CNN. But the fact is this is not a made-up story. This is not being enhanced. This is not being exaggerated. This story is 100% accurate. Linda Sarsour has posed for pictures with Hamas operatives. You know? And she's a hero to Obama. She has championed a woman that is now guilty of bombing and killing Israeli citizens. What did I speak about before about Obama? He's anti-Israeli, just like he's anti-American. Okay? Linda Sarsour claims that the underwear bomber is a CIA agent, okay? All right? Again, I can't make this stuff up. Hey, she could be right. She may be right. We just talked about all the stuff the CIA is into. They're working with Al-Qaeda. Hey, maybe she is correct on that one. So, that is a fact, though. She claims that the underwear bomber is a CIA agent. And, again, folks, Obama, our former president, and the former president of the United States of America, has endorsed Linda Sarsour. And Obama praises her actions. And Obama has named Linda Sarsour, quote, a champion of change. Okay? Again, come on, folks. What more proof do you need? What more does One Eye News have to do to convince the country, or at least half of the country, who Obama really is? We are giving you all of this evidence, and there's more and more and more, and we're going to do more. But we gotta end it somewhere for this particular series at some point, and then we gotta dig into some other stuff. But look, folks, President Obama has endorsed Linda Sarsour as, quote, a champion of change. And again, folks, I mean, I'm laughing here, but this is how I kind of deal with stress. I like to, laugh it off a little bit. But This is very serious, folks, and this is the kind of change that Obama is all about. And that is anti-American change, folks. Just like in Chicago. Again, and Chicago is the model for the rest of the country. The lawlessness allowed to take place, combined with the sanctuary city policies, have turned Chicago into a third world war zone, where the career criminals and illegal immigrants have more rights than any average hardworking American citizen, and can kill at will without consequences. As we discussed earlier, the murder arrest rate is 20%. So 4 out of 5 murderers recommend moving to Chicago. I am again going to say what everyone else in America is afraid to say. Folks, I am going to do this because it has to be done. And I'm not doing it because I'm a racist or a bigot or a xenophobe or a homophobe or any of those phobes or ists that you're going to try to label me. I'm doing it because I'm an American patriot who cares about the American citizen. Black, white, Mexican, Filipino, all of everybody. I care about everybody's rights and ability to live in America safely. Okay? As long as you're here legally. Okay? Now, I still care about those who aren't legal, but I would like them to become legal. Okay? But again, I'm going to say what everyone else in America is afraid to say. And that is that these problems within the inner cities are concentrated in, well, the black communities and the brown communities, who are guilty of committing the majority of these crimes. And so that is why the police are concentrated on some of these citizens, and that is a fact. Okay, so it makes sense, folks. If you have 80% of the criminals who are black and brown, then it stands to reason that they're going to be engaged with police much more than any others. So let's tell it like it is, folks. If you are a gang member or a street dealer or a street thief or a street hustler or whatever circle of crime you run in, then you are subject to arrest and harassment. Okay? So, and again, common sense is most American citizens understand that. The problem is, it seems that these criminals want to cry victim if they are punished. Okay? What the hell is going on, people? The criminals cry victim if they're punished. For instance, if you break into somebody's house and you slip and fall, you can sue the homeowner for breaking your neck. I mean, and that's not an exaggeration. That's happened. Anyways, it seems that these criminals, they want to cry victim and they want to be absolved of any punishment, because they'll cite that they're black or whatever, and they will say that they are targeted because they're black or brown or an illegal immigrant. Okay, again, it's out of control. So One Eye News is going to tell it like it is. And we are not concerned about hurting anybody's feelings, and especially these thugs' feelings, and these criminals, and these murderers, and these killers. We're not concerned about hurting their feelings. They're not concerned with hurting your feelings, but it seems that the left is concerned with hurting these criminals' feelings, so we are not. And so we're going to point it out, and we're going to be very clear about it. It is black and brown who are committing these horrible crimes in America. And there are some whites too, but period. The majority are being committed in the inner cities, in all of these neighborhoods, by black and brown. And therefore, it is black and brown who will be targeted by the police. It's pretty simple common sense. Like, for instance, the gang of 30 black teenagers who are robbing and beating the citizens, and mostly white citizens, I might add, in San Francisco who are riding the BART trains. Okay? And I know maybe some of you have seen this, but the media has kind of buried it. And the city refused to release the video because it clearly showed a bunch of racist black teenagers attacking white citizens. The city refused to release this tape, citing that the teenagers, that they were teenagers and black citizens that will be unfairly depicted. What? Hey, folks, they're a racist mob of violent criminals, just like the teenagers that are MS-13 gang members that are killing our children. Are they going to hide those videos of the MS-13 people? Well, same thing here, folks. You can't have it. You can't have it both ways. Okay? These are violent citizens, racist, violent black youth who are targeting white citizens, and so they don't want to release the tapes because it will depict them unfairly. Let's tell it like it is. This is another indication of the war on white being allowed and covered up and being allowed to take place here in America. And again, I got thick skin. You could call me cracker, you could call me honky, you could call me whatever you like. You call me Dago, Dago here, Dago there, Dago everywhere. Call me whatever you like. I'm not going to cry and whine about it. Okay? Back in the day, hey, you might go out in the parking lot and mix it up for a few minutes, and then you go back and you know, have a beer together, whatever. But, you know, there certainly wasn't anybody shooting anybody because they got all offended. You know, come on, this society is so thin-skinned, especially what's up? You know, all you criminals and all the blacks and the browns and all these white criminals, you're all supposed to be hard. This ain't hard. Hard is not being offended because somebody made a racial slur towards you. That's a everyday 100-time occurrence if you come from the ghetto, and you and I both know that. And so, I mean, sorry, I went off on a tangent again there, but it's just annoying to me that they cover up the truth with all this stuff. Anyways, you know, there is a war on white, and a verification that if you are black or brown or an illegal, then you will be let free of any criminal charges. For the most part. I mean, not all of them, not all the time, not every one. But just as these despicable 30 black teenagers were given a free pass and were allowed to continue to attack citizens because nobody wanted to identify them and therefore make any arrests or anything. Come on. And just because they're black, which is again a microcosm of the larger issue here. And come on, folks, the patients are running the nut house. The inmates are running the prison. The criminals are running the politicians. And this is not racist to say. This is just a fact. And you might not like the fact, but it is a fact. And it is the new reality. Black and brown are responsible for the majority of the inner city crimes and killings. Okay? And anybody who tries to sell you a different story is lying to you. So let's tell it like it is. Let's identify and address the situation. Let's get in there and use those tactics to frisk and stop and search and frisk. And whatever you got to do, get those guns off the street, stop the killing, start arresting everybody in sight, and locking everybody up until this stops. That's what has to happen, folks. You know, and particularly in Chicago's case, right now, everybody needs to get arrested. Everybody. Okay? You spit on the sidewalk, you're going to jail for 3 days. Okay, so you got to stop this somehow. So, you know, hey, if I spit on a sidewalk, I'll do my 3 days and get my 3 hots in a cot. So, we too can use Chicago as a model as well, just like the left is doing. We can use it to point out what is really happening to our country. Okay, and the groups that are killing anyone and everyone. Anyways, folks, we're just going to continue going on. We're going to end this hour and we're going to start up a new one and we're going to just continue. It looks like we're pretty close to done. We should be able to finish up the next hour. But, you know, I guess, again, we're not going to be able to call this an 8-part series. We might call it a 10-part series. But, hey, so be it. We got to do what we got to do, and we just got to get it done. So, please, folks, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, contribute at Patreon, share us, like us, retweet us, and help us get the word out. Okay, thanks again for tuning in to One Eye News. America's Eye, laser focus on the truth. I'm Johnny D, keeping my eye on the truth for America. Okay, we'll catch you on the flip side.